Take us inside the decision in terms of the intelligence. We saw from Secretary of State Mike Pompeo that there was intelligence that led to this. What do we know about that intelligence?
Well, this is a critical question, and part of the problem here for people who want to know what happened and for Democrats on Capitol Hill who are very frustrated right now is that we don't have a lot of details. Now, the administration did not brief virtually any members of Congress about this operation before it happened. There was no congressional buy-in. I say virtually any because Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina, who's a friend of the president's, was down golfing with him and apparently was looped into this. And people don't know exactly what the basis for this extraordinary act of aggression against Iran, this essentially provocation that the Iranians will see as an act of war, why was this a catalyst for the United States to take this action? What administration officials are saying is that Soleimani was planning specific new attacks that had the potential to lead to the deaths of hundreds of Americans in the Middle East, military members and diplomats. But we're not getting more details than that. And there is a lot of skepticism on Capitol Hill. Number one, there's the history of intelligence being cooked up in the example of the Iraq War with weapons of mass destruction. And number two, let's be frank about this. The Trump administration has squandered a lot of its credibility through 1,000 small falsehoods over the past several years. And so there is real doubt that Soleimani was doing something much different than he has been doing for many years, menacing Americans and others in the region.
Nancy, you've been at the Pentagon all day talking to top U.S. officials. Can you add, based on your reporting, any new details to what Michael just said in terms of the intelligence, in terms of the rationale?
So one of the things that they said at the Pentagon today was that Qassim Suleimani had been traveling from Damascus to Beirut and to Baghdad, where he was struck, as part of this plot, that this was a targeted campaign, multifaceted, that extended across Syria, potentially to troops in northeast Syria, to Lebanon, potentially diplomatic quarters there, and then to Iraq. And they have said that this was something that was imminent, potentially within days. But as Michael said, they haven't offered more specifics than that. And I think one reason people have a lot of questions is that Qassim Soleimani has posed a threat to U.S. interests and troops for, some would argue, decades. And one could argue that the threat that he posed through his paramilitary and militia troops in countries like Lebanon and Syria and Iraq had continued and was not markedly different. And so what the Pentagon sought to say was that this time this threat had to be acted upon quickly and through the strike campaign.